The biggest reason to learn real life approaches is not to get dates, it's not to get a girlfriend, it's not to get a wife, but it's this. My name is Gus Olson. I've been flirting with women in real life for 12 years. And in this video, I want to talk about the single biggest and most important reason for you to learn the skill of meeting women in real life. And the goals that I mentioned in the beginning of this video, dates, girlfriend, wife, they're all noble and great goals, and they certainly make it worth it, and they're certainly very achievable with real life approaches. But there's a different goal that is so much sweeter and much more powerful to achieve than all the previous goals combined that you get only by mastering real life approaches. To explain this in simple terms, let's take an example where you get a girlfriend. Now, things are going well, things are going amazing, but chances are, not being pessimistic, statistically, chances are at some point it's going to end. A lot of things can happen, and that's okay. It's okay for breakups to happen. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with breakups. I think it's just a natural progression of life. Everything ends. Once things end, you're what we call ground zero. You have no girlfriend, no dates, nothing. What do you do when you're at ground zero? And this is where a lot of guys panic. This is where a lot of guys find themselves to be very miserable in, because they don't know what to do in ground zero. It doesn't have to be you breaking up with a girlfriend. Maybe you're already single and you were dating a few girls or one girl, or you had a few dates, and then now you literally have zero active conversations in your phone, zero active conversations in your dating life, and you're at ground zero. What do you do? Again, if you don't have the skill of real life approaches and the skill of meeting women organically, then when you're at ground zero, it's a very frustrating time. It's a very miserable time, because you have to stay at ground zero for much longer than you would like to stay at ground zero. And then you start to panic, you start to potentially take on dates with women that you might not necessarily be so excited about. You start making questionable decisions and sleep with women that you otherwise wouldn't sleep with. You potentially get even more desperate and seek certain services like OnlyFans or go to Amsterdam red light district. All these things guys do when they get at ground zero, and they get more desperate, frustrated, and miserable. On the other hand, if you do have the skill set of meeting and knowing how to meet women in real life, then even when you're at ground zero, which you will arrive at 100%, it happens for most guys at some point of their lives, you know what to do. All you gotta do is go out to a street like this, and you have women walking past. You can talk to a bunch of these women. Some of them you'll like, some of them you won't like, and the ones that you do like, you have the opportunity to charm them with your charisma, conversation skills, flirting abilities, and courage to take things forward. And that is the difference, because what I mentioned earlier, everyone arrives at ground zero. Everyone arrives at ground zero at some point, and it's everywhere, right? It's in dating, it's in jobs. Sometimes you might lose a job, or there might be crisis and things might go down. What do you do when you're at ground zero? If you are not able to consistently land new jobs, or maybe you have business and you want to consistently land new clients, then you have to stay at ground zero for a long time, and you have no predictable way of exiting the ground zero, and it's very tough. And a lot of people, for this very reason, their biggest fear is to land at ground zero. That's why they stay in relationships, bad relationships, much longer than they should have. They don't exit the situations, subpar situations which they should exit, because they're afraid of the ground zero. And when you stay at a position that is bad for you, out of the fear for being at a ground zero, it is extremely frustrating. I mean, just imagine staying at a shit job that you hate just because you don't want to be unemployed, or being in a very, very toxic, shitty relationship just because you don't want to be single. It's the worst. So rather than doing that, learn the skills to deal with conditions of being in a ground zero, because ground zero arrives for everyone, and that's okay. You don't have to be afraid of ground zero. What you have to do, though, is figure out a way to get skills to exit the ground zero when it comes to your dating, when it comes to business and jobs, all these things. So ground zero arrives for everyone. Everything starts and everything ends. And when things end, when things begin from zero, what are you gonna do? what are you going to do? If you're gonna get the skills, and if you will have the skills, you will have an opportunity to quickly exit ground zero and start a new journey, start a new connection. That's what it's about. That's the ultimate goal of continuing to do and learning the skill set of real life approaches and mastering this effective communication with women, is that you're able to make things happen every single time when you're at ground zero. So you don't have to be afraid of ground zero. You can take more risks. You can be more ballsy. You can just drop everything and move to a new country just to explore things, because you know you can make things happen. Just like I've done here. I've moved to Madrid without knowing anyone here because I'm fine being at ground zero. I left everything in Barcelona. I'll probably make another video about this. But yes, being in ground zero gives you opportunities to take new chances and risks that you otherwise wouldn't take. So this is Gus Olsen. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.